people end up fighting the wrong enemy. Like they sort of don't realize because they're under the spell of the conflict, and we all do this, that they're picking the wrong fight with the wrong group, which means they're not actually having the fight they need to have. But in this case, so Curtis Toler was a pretty high-ranking gang leader in Chicago. He joined his first gang at age 9 in order to belong and get protection, usual reasons, rose through the ranks of the Black Keystone Gang, which was his organization. And as he grew up, he was idolizing this local high school basketball star who he would see playing at his local park, who was really, ranked #1 in the country and was, had big future in the NBA and so forth. And when that young man was shot and killed out of nowhere, Curtis really got convinced that a rival gang was to blame, the Gangster Disciples. And he spent many years pursuing a vendetta against the Gangster Disciples. And he did this for lots of reasons, but most of us, including Curtis, we get into high conflict because we want our lives to matter. And when we experience pain and humiliation, we spread it around often, particularly if we don't have the resources or ability to do anything else with it. So he had witnessed a lot of violence as a kid in Chicago, and he was spreading it around. And he had a story that he was telling himself, as were others, about why this hero had been killed and what he needed to do for him to see justice, right, in the world. But eventually, he was facing possible prison time, realizing, this is years later, that he wasn't going to be there for his kids. He was either going to get killed or go to prison. And he hit what is called a saturation point in conflict, where he realized that the conflict was not actually defensible, that the losses were too great to bear, and that he'd been fighting the wrong enemy. So he did a bunch of things, which we can talk about, but he managed to shift into good conflict out of high conflict. And one day he ran into the man who had gone to prison for shooting his basketball hero, someone he had wanted to kill for many, many years. And they had a long conversation because they were able to at that point in their lives. And Curtis realized that, he'd been fighting the wrong fight with the wrong enemy this whole time. And it's a very disturbing realization that I've had myself. I've seen other people have. You can definitely do this in politics, but also in, personal family conflicts where you just get so latched on to a story that you're telling yourself that you miss the real opponent or the real problem.